Welcome to the newest episode in an ongoing Legendarium series about the heroes of the Trojan War. In this installment, Paris, we will talk about how a prince of Troy brought about the destruction of his home city. To those familiar with the Iliad, it may seem strange to list the famously cowardly Paris of Troy among its heroes. Yet among the Greeks, a hero did not always mean a moral exemplar, simply a person of great importance. And Paris did much to cause the Trojan War, as it is described in Greek mythology. Paris was the son of King Priam and Queen Hecuba of Troy. According to lore, the couple already had 50 sons and 50 daughters. His name, ironically, meant defender. Before Paris's birth, Hecuba had a dream in which her child became a flaming torch or brand. The seer Asacus explained that the yet unborn Paris would be the doom of Troy. Asacus also said that on the day of Paris's birth, a child born of royals should be killed to save the kingdom. However, Priam and Hecuba could not bring themselves to kill their baby's son, and instead gave young Paris to a herdsman who would do the deed. The herdsman, also unable to kill the baby, left him to die on Mount Ida, but a she-bear saved the young Paris by giving him milk. When the herdsman returned 9 days later, he found the baby still alive and took him back to Troy. For a time, Paris lived as a shepherd. During this time of his life, Paris met the nymph Oenon as a young man, and they became lovers. During their tryst, Oenon warned Paris of the dangers he would find if he left the Troad, the countryside around Troy, and urged her husband to never visit Sparta. Like many a foolish mortal in Greek myth, Paris ignored these warnings to his sorrow. As a young man, Paris entered a boxing contest at a Trojan festival in which he defeated Priam's other sons. After his identity became known, his father Priam took Paris into his home. Years later, a magnificent ceremony took place on Mount Olympus for the marriage of Peleus and Thetis. Zeus, king of the gods, invited major and minor deities except for Eris, the goddess of strife. In revenge for this slight, Eris decided to cause havoc by throwing the golden apple of discord among the goddesses. She inscribed it with the words, "To the fairest." Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite started quarreling over who should get the apple and asked Zeus to decide. The king of the gods, knowing that his decision would anger any goddess not chosen, chose to appoint Paris to be the judge, knowing Paris to be fair-minded, and that way Zeus could blame Paris for any slights to the goddesses. Paris asked the three to disrobe, but even then he found them to be equal in beauty. So the goddesses decided to bribe him. Hera told Paris that if he picked her, she would appoint him ruler of all Asia. Athena told Paris that she would endow him with battle skills and wisdom. Aphrodite said she would give Paris the most beautiful woman in the world, and Paris chose Aphrodite's bride. Aphrodite believed Helen to be the most beautiful woman in the world, but she already married King Menelaus of Sparta. Paris either stole Helen from Menelaus with help from Aphrodite, or Helen eloped with him of her own free will. In any case, after this event, Menelaus invoked the Oath of Tyndareus, an oath taken by all prospective suitors of Helen, in which they swore to uphold Helen's marriage no matter who she chose. As a result, all the kings of Greece joined the expedition to Troy, thus starting the Trojan War. Menelaus's brother, King Agamemnon of Mycenae, held overall command. The Greeks sacked small towns in or near the Troad, but helped by their allies in Thrace and Asia Minor, the city of Troy itself held out for 10 years. Paris lacked both courage and skill in battle. He preferred to use a bow and arrow, not the weapon of choice for the truly courageous. Indeed, when the wronged Menelaus confronted Paris in single combat, Paris fled when he faced defeat. Paris only made it over the walls of Troy with the help of Aphrodite, and the war continued. At some point late in the war, the Greek hero Achilles died from an arrow that struck him in the heel. Some sources claim that Paris shot Achilles with help from Apollo, while others claim that Apollo transformed into Paris and shot Achilles. Paris himself would later be mortally wounded by Philoctetes, a Greek warrior. At that point, Helen tried to find Paris's former lover Oenon, who had once promised to heal any wounds that Paris happened to suffer. However, the nymph, still angry that Paris abandoned her for Helen, refused to give any help, and Paris died that same day. When Oenon heard about the death, she threw herself into Paris's funeral pyre out of grief. Helen then had to marry Paris's brother Deiphobus, himself killed by Menelaus after the fall of Troy. In the sack that followed, Priam and his remaining sons perished, and the Trojan women passed into slavery. And that is how a prince of Troy caused the destruction of his home city. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.